Good morning. Today we are doing our last objective in our Unit 8, dealing with our data and graphs. Today we're doing CO65. I can interpret and create circle graphs. So a circle graph can also be called a pie chart because when we look at that circle, when it's broken up into its pieces, it looks like pieces of pie. So sometimes you'll hear it referred to as a pie chart because it looks like a pie. Circle chart because it's the actual shape of a circle. So a circle graph is a graph that displays data as sections of a circle. The entire circle is 100% of all the data. So when we look at our percentages, because circle graphs use percentages, the whole circle is 100%. So when you add up all the different pieces of the circle graph, add up all those percentages, it's going to equal what percent? 100%. So if we look at our foreign languages that are studied, if I add up my Spanish, my German, my Italian, and my French, I add all of these up, I get 100%. So it's important to note that circle graphs always equal 100%. So adding all of them up, you will get 100%. So if we look at our questions, we're going to practice reading our circle graph. What percentage of students surveyed studied French? How do I find that answer, James?
How do you find what kind of box the thing represents?
Yeah, we have to look at our key, right? Over here is the key. I'm going to look for the French, and I'm going to see, okay, when it's in color, it's the yellow with the dotted lines. Yours is in black and white. You can still see which section has those dotted lines going diagonally. So if I look at that, I can look over here. I have a percentage here. I have that same percent in my key. What percentage of students is it, James?
Oh, 30.
30%. If 100 students were surveyed, how many studied Italian? So it's out of 100 students. So that whole pie chart is 100. How many studied Italian? What is, oh, I wrote this wrong. I should do it this way. What is 10%? So we see Italian is 10%. What is 10% of 100? Matthew? Nope. Amelia? Nope. James?
10.
How did you get 10?
Because 10% of 10, it's basically 10 out of 100.
So what does the word of mean? What mathematical operation is the word of? Multiplication. What is 10%? How would we put that into our calculator? Matthew? 10% is 0.10. Remember those decimals. In our calculator, we can't type in 10%. We can type in 0.10. Then we do our math. 0.10 times 100 equals that 10 that James said. When it's out of 100, it's easy to figure it out the way that you did, James, but we need to know the math behind it for when it's not out of 100. So what you want to do is you want to take that percentage change it into that decimal like we did many, many objectives ago. Coming back to Hannah's. Change your percentage into a decimal. Of means multiply. And you put out of how many? 0.10 times 100 equals 10. So now 50 students were surveyed. How many studied Spanish? What is the math that we want to do? Olivia?
55% of 100.
Yeah. Spanish is 55%, so we know it's 55% of, did you say 100? Not 100. 55% of 50 students. So we want our total number, 55% of 50. So do you think it's a good idea to have our calculators? Mm-hmm. What is 55% of 50? We're going to give our friends just a moment. Did you get longhand?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
It's 27.5.
So 55% of 50 would be 0.55 times 50, which is 27.5. Can we have half a person? No. So rounding, we would round up to 28. Bennett?
Why'd you do 55% of 50?
Because there are 50 students. 100% of the students is 50. So it changes. So you always have to look at what the total number is. That's your 100%. It's not always going to be 100. So we had 21 students in here. 20 with Jillian at band. But that's our 100%. If everybody's in here, 21 students would be 100% of us are present. So we don't want that half of a person, so you could round it up. If 3 students study German, how many students study French? Oh, now we have to figure out all of our steps. There are multiple steps we have to do to find this answer. What do you think, Matthew?
I know the answer. I don't know the final.
What do you think the answer is?
I'm pretty sure.
You are not. So we know up here, we knew a total amount and we knew a percentage. Down here, we know what it equals and we know the percentage is 30%. We want to know out of how many. If we know that total amount and we know our percentages, then we can go to the French. So how many students are there if 30% is 3? So this is our, what we are searching for. That's our variable that we're solving for. So if this was multiplying, what's the opposite operation to get that total? Divide. So instead of multiplying that 0.3, I'm going to divide by 0.3. What is 3 divided by 0.3? Sorry, I did that wrong. Whew, I was going so fast when I did my answer key. It's not 0.3. Why is it not 0.3? We need to add a, oh wait, maybe I did do this right. Oh my goodness. I really did this wrong when I was going too fast in my head. So I have, pause and come back to this. There are 3 students. not 30%, because they're German. German is 5%. That's where I went wrong. I messed myself up. Sorry. Happens to me too. German is 5%. So 5% of the question mark is 3. 5% is 0.05. Whew. So 5% divided that 3 divided by that 5%. I'm sorry I messed this up at the beginning. I just shift my gears. James.
Would be 10?
Nope. 5% of 3. So 5% of a number is 3. So if it was 10 out of 10, 3 out of 10 is way closer to 50% than 5%. So I think you forgot to do 0.05. 3 divided by 0.05. Gigi. It is 60. 3 divided by 0.05. I got that 0.05 from that 5%. 3 divided by 0.05 is 60. So that means there is a total of 60 students. Now can I solve how many are studying French? I have to go back up and do this math now. So now I know there's 30% of my total of 60 equals how many? So now I'm going to go back to that multiplying of multiplying. Here's where I have my 0.30 times 60 gives me what? Gigi. 18. So 60 was just a step to get us there. Right? We had to do that extra step of figuring out how many total people there are. Then we could go back and find out what that French 30% is. So you always have to see, if you can't get there right away, see what steps you can do of previous objectives we've learned in the past. How do we get there? Is there any questions on how we did that? Okay. Let me scroll up. So we need to survey our class for everyone's favorite pizza topping. Display your results in a circle graph. So we're going to take our key, and let's see, we had 4 foreign languages. Let's do 4 pizza toppings. So raise your hand if you have a pizza topping for us. Aiden.
Oh. I got another one.
Ethan.
5 minutes.
So, one topic. Pick one topic. Pepperoni.
Oh, thank you. I got one.
Olivia. Nolan. We have room for one more. Let's do one more. Enzo.
Pineapple.
Oh, you decided along so well with Mateo. He's the only one in our family that likes pineapple, so we never get that, and he always wants it. So there are 21 students in here now that Jillian is back. So you can only vote for one topic. Okay. So you can only pick one topic because there are 21 total of us. So our number should equal up to that 21. So raise your hand if Canadian bacon is your favorite out of all of these. Okay. Raise your hand if pepperoni is your favorite.
Awesome.
Raise your hand if cheese is your favorite out of these toppings. Keep your hands up so I can count.
It's supposed to be a part. Then it would just.
Raise your hand. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if sausage is your favorite. And raise your hand if pineapple is your favorite. So there is somebody who did not vote, because we should have 21. Who didn't vote?
I voted for bacon.
Okay, let's try this again. Maybe I missed somebody when I was counting. Raise your hand if you voted for Canadian bacon, nice and high. No, you don't get to change your mind. Raise your hand if you voted for Canadian bacon. I just want to see where I missed somebody. That's 4 of us. Okay, hands down. Raise your hand if you voted for pepperoni. Okay. Raise your hand if you voted for cheese. 9, that's the one I missed.
Who did you miss?
Oh, I don't know. But that's okay, we're at 21 now. So we have 21 students. We have 21 votes up here. We're gonna turn these into our percentages because that circle graph is always about percentages. So how do I turn 4 out of 21 into a percentage? So if 4 people out of 21 voted for Canadian bacon, what percentage of our students like Canadian bacon? Aiden. What? No, because it's not out of 100. That would only work if we were out of 100 people. We're out of 21. Look at the math that I just put on the board. 4 out of 21. What does that fraction bar mean? Divide. So what is 4 divided by 21? Nora.
It's 19.
It's 0.19, which is 19%. So pepperoni is 4 out of 21, so we know that one's going to be 19%. Now we have cheese is 9 out of 21. What percentage of people liked cheese? So we're not guessing. This is why it's important to bring all of our supplies. We need those calculators, Luciana. 9 out of 21, what's that math? We need a percentage. No. You actually have to do it. 9 divided by 21. Gigi? So our decimal is 0.428. We want to go to that hundredths place. So we're rounding, we're followed by an 8, it would be 43% because we want to round up. What about 2 people liking sausage? 2 out of 21, so what percentage is that? Nora? What did you get for 2 divided by 21? So 0.095. So what do we round that to? The 9 rounds up to a 10. So when we round that, it's going to look like that. Because if we said 0.09 rounds to 0.1, that's going really small. We want 9 goes up to the 10, so we want to see that full 10. And then pineapple would be 10%. And I think we have to change that 43%. We're going to change that back to our 42% because we want it out of 100%. And because we had to do some rounding, because it wasn't even numbers, when we do it on the test, it's gonna easily make it to that 100%, but we want to be able to add up all of our percentages to equal 100%. So 19 plus 19 plus 42 plus 10 plus 10 gives us that 100%. Okay? So now we need to make it look like that on our circle graph. So we have our center, we have a 19%, a 19%, a 42%, a 10%, and a 10%. So 42% is not quite half. It's not quite 50%. So I'm gonna do that section first, and I'm gonna make a really big section. That's not quite half of my pie. Because 42% is almost that half, and I'm gonna call that the cheese. Cheese was 42%. So then my 10% is just gonna make that leftover section, that 8% plus that 2. I'm gonna call that my sausage. And then the same size shape, another 10% is gonna be my pineapple. And then 19%, 19%, I'm gonna try to make that into half. I'll call this pepperoni. And this Canadian bacon.
Did you try bacon?
Well, bacon is very different than Canadian bacon. So a true connoisseur of bacon would say no.
So what's the difference between?
Canadian bacon is like ham. So that's what our circle chart should look like. You need to make it logical. Cheese is almost half. So are we exact and perfect when we're freehanding it, drawing it? No, but it's going to make sense. 42% cheese is the biggest section of our numbers. Canadian bacon and pepperoni are half of that. Sausage and pineapple are both small sections. So it needs to make sense. On our second page, you need to answer questions about each circle graph. So we need to look at the graph here and answer your questions. Same way we were answering it on that first page. Look at your second graph. Answer the questions. Think about what it's asking you. And try to answer those questions. Think about what we were reviewing about percentages. And then time for review. This is important. We have done all of our graphs, and on each objective page under the description of the graph, it says what we use that graph for. So if we look at circle graphs, it says circle graphs represent data using percentages. So when we come to that review, it's important to know that if we're going to be using something with percentages, which graph are we going to use? Circle. Each one of these, the bar graph, the line graph, the stem and leaf plot, the box and whisker, and the histogram and circle graph. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each one is used once. Look back at your objectives. Don't just guess. You need to know this for the test. And let me tell you, when I was making my answer key, I had to look back at my objectives. What is this graph used for again? Do you think that's going to be something important to put on your help sheet? Spoiler, it is. You're going to want to put it on your help sheet so you remember what each graph is used for. Circle graphs we just did, we know that that's used for something with percentages. So you will want to refer back to each objective page. What I did when I was referring back is I actually wrote it under each one of these. And I said, okay, circle graph is my percentages. And I wrote each one. What does each objective say it's used for? And then I used that to answer my questions. So you can see it on my paper. I wrote under each graph what it is used for. I'm going over this very specifically for a reason. It is important. You need to know what we use the different graphs for. Any questions on today's assignment? Okay, for my friends at home, we hope you are well. We hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.